So thanks for the opportunity, and I feel for you guys. So now you're hungry, and two lovely ladies spoke, and now you're stuck with this middle-aged guy, right? So, but I think 20 minutes and you're done, right? So there's food waiting for you, right? So probably I'll try to be quick with whatever I have. So a quick introduction of myself. I'm Pavan Gollapudi, basically from India, worked in India for 5 years, moved to Singapore as a young guy, then lived there for about 9 years. In the last 2 years of my Singapore life, I joined this great company called DB Schenker. I didn't know that was a big company at that time. And then I moved to Germany in 2006. I thought I'll come here only for 2 years, but I like the country now here. I keep saying that this is the longest 2 years I worked for a company, right? So 21 years later, here I am presenting my experience with what we did in our lovely company, right? I, as a profession or as my role in DB Schenker, I'm the global head of master data and rate management. So I have a dual role. Um, this master data management came only in the last 2 years, but my entire Schenker life, you can say it's rate management. You can call it contract management. We call it RCM, rate and contract management in our company, right? And along this journey that I will show you as a company, there's also a personal journey, which I like the most because I am an accidental contract management guy, right? I never planned to do this. This is not what I'm trained for. I'm not a legal expert like some of you colleagues, one or two. But I'm just a regular IT guy who ended up in contract management. And right now in Schenker, I'm neither in the IT department nor in the business unit. So I never meet customers. I never meet our providers. And I'm not in the IT programming and things like that. So I'm like the clever guy who thinks he's clever. So I'm the business guy for the IT guys. I'm the IT guy for the business, right? So my bread and butter is that the business guys don't understand IT. IT guys don't understand business, right? That's where I make a living, right? So, um, yes, what else I can say? So, yeah, this is the agenda of my presentation. What the hell is freight forwarding? Because I think very few of you are from this business. I have some Maersk and AB Moller colleagues who understand a little bit what freight management is. I'll tell you what the freight management, right? Then as things stood and make or buy, that means what's our journey was, yeah. And then how we came to the decision of make or buy, and yes, it's not over, right? So thanks for the spoiler alert, Richard. I'm not going to talk about AI, right? So we are talking about real contract man. Oh, sorry. No, not real. Thorsten and Patrick, you would kill me for that. So I'm talking of non-AI, but rate and contract management in our own little forwarding world, right? Spoiler alert. Um, so first, yes, in case you have not heard this, we have been acquired by DSV, which is a Danish company. When I say we, I don't know how many of you know about DB Schenker. It's a 152-year-old company, a German-based company, um, about 80,000 employees, roughly 20 billion turnover. And DSV, an equal size, pretty much 20 billion, 80,000 people, that kind of. So DSV more or less bought a company of its own size, right? So here we are. We are now a 40 billion company, and Schenker's name will disappear, which is a bit sad for people like me who have been with the company for 21 years, right? But still, I will be part of this 40 billion, number one freight forwarder in the world kind of thing, right? So looking forward to that, right? Yes, coming to Schenker, these are the three, DSV in future. These are the three major verticals we have, right? Air and sea, right? And land and contract logistics. These are the three verticals, our business units. The rest are all support functions, finance, sales, and all that. So I'm going to focus in the air and sea area because that's where I work and this is where my heart is. In fact, I'm coming from the sea direction, but in the last 5 to 10 years, I've become more and more air freight. So in the end, I am kind of both, right? So yeah, so these are the building blocks of freight forwarding, right? So freight forwarding is on a limb. I mean, I have the same challenge like one of you said. How do I explain this to my parents, right? So freight forwarder is like a travel agent. So a travel agent takes people from one place to another. You don't have to worry about how you will be picked up, how you're going to be transported to the airport, and then somebody will pick you up from the airport and then take you to your destination. Somebody will take you around the place, sightseeing, wherever or whatever you want to do. So we are the same for cargo, right? That's freight forwarding for you, right? So the building blocks for freight forwarding is there is a pickup from a factory, and then we take it to our own warehouse, that cargo, and then there is a kind of a connection to the nearest seaport. And then this is called the main leg, and then we come to another seaport, and then we take it to our warehouse and then deliver it, right? That's the building blocks of forwarding, right? The same thing for air freight. So the only difference being the main leg, as we call, is from an airport to airport, right? That's the general, just some basics, yeah. Now we are coming to a solution, right? So this forwarding world is a bit of complex world because we are connecting the dots. We don't own anything. We don't own any trucks. We don't own airlines. We don't own ships, right? We leave the shipping business to people like Maersk and Hapag-Lloyd and these people who own those big container vessels, and we just take their service, right? So we don't own anything, basically, right? So we have to connect the dots because a customer like you who wants to send this TV from your home to a friend of yours sitting in Singapore, you contact us. You don't contact Lufthansa, who is going to finally transport the cargo physically. You don't contact the trucker who's going to come and pick you up from your home, right? So we connect the dots, right? So it's a complex business. So as things stood, why do I call stood is because I'm talking of pre-2006. The journey starts around that time of the company to build a solution. So these truckers, so I just spoke about the first leg, which is a pickup, right? So in the pickup area, we have all these truckers, some random names I put because from different continents, I picked up some truckers, right? And we roughly have 22,900 truckers in our business, right? Then we come to the shipping lines. Yeah, Hapag-Lloyd, Maersk, CMA, MSC. Abhishek, I put it even though I did not know that you were there, right? So it's okay. If Maersk and we, Schenker, we have some troubled times in the last couple of years, but they are also one of our providers, right? And there are about 1370. Yeah, the number is rather less because you have all these huge shipping lines. We are talking about, I don't know, Maersk, how many vessels do you have? Container 700, yeah, exactly. And each one is something like 20,000, 30,000, right? Containers that you can take. These are huge, really huge. They say that once, I think in one of the ships, if you're sitting, you're a captain, right? You are sitting in the ship, I think you can't see for about 4 miles, right? When you're sitting on top of the, so that kind of vessels we are talking about. So these are all these big players, right? Super big players. And there are about 1,300 of them. And then we have these airlines, tons, again, similar number, right? And then we have, again, customers, of course. Yeah, they give us the money, right? So we have about 14,000 customers. And then, not the least, we are our own customers, right? This is a bit of a kind of difficult to explain, but maybe some of your companies also have. You provide services to each other, right? And that's how forwarding business works, because legally also you are supposed to make profit with each other. Otherwise, it's called kind of, it goes into the money laundering area. So that's the reason why if an export station offers a service to an import station within the same company, the export station is supposed to sell it to the import station. So which means we have that complexity also, right? So basically, we have all these contracts put into the system and we are supposed to make sense out of it. Why? Because a sales guy in our company is going to go into the system and he doesn't care about all these people. He's just going to type in his zip code in the origin and the destination zip code, and that's it. We are supposed to provide all these services, right? The combinations, which make sense, which don't make sense, and present it in a way that they understand, right? So that's the kind of world we started with. Yeah. Now comes the complexity. We have this lovely formats from all our providers. Sorry, Abhishek, I don't have a MERSC format, right? Please don't strike me off from your friends list, okay? So you can see it's very heavily Excel, and it is still is, right? So of this, I'm talking of one of these 1,300 providers I was talking about, but I just put 4 of them like this, right? The remaining 1,296 would be variations of similar, right? Maybe there's a PDF somewhere, but in general, it's like that. Just another basic thing, we always work with rates, right? You see here from Taiwan, Kaohsiung, which is a seaport in Taiwan. That's a POL. And then there's a POD somewhere. That means port of destination, sorry for you. And then this is the 20-foot containers rate. So like that, we have tons of rates. I'm just giving an example, right? So this is about ocean, and then the same for air freight. Similar situation where you still get Excel sheets, still Excel, right? I would be very happy if someday AI will come and then just take over all this and read all this data and put it in my system. I would be the happiest person. But we are not there yet, nowhere close, right? So those were the challenges, and now we need to take a decision whether we make our own system, buy something from the market, right? So we started to look at various solutions, and we did look at market solutions in those days. I'm talking of 2006, Catapult, GT Nexus, and yeah, these systems like that. And there are several internal systems. Talking about internal systems, there's also a kind of a personal journey for me. When I was sitting in Singapore, I developed, let's say, a system for Asia Pac, for our own region at that time. So we just built it, and the same thing was done in Europe. The same thing was done in North America. So which means not only that we have a lot of external providers, but also a lot of internal systems. So our mandate, the global mandate, is that we need to replace all this, right? And then create a global system so that everybody understands. Everybody can use it, not just meant for one or the other region, but globally, right? So after doing all this analysis, we were confused, let's say, right? And why should you be confused? You have the management to present, right? Let the confusion be transferred to them. So when we presented to them, then they had a clear vision, thankfully. They said that we don't want standalone systems. That means we want an integrated system. What is integrated? So we are a forwarder, right? I was talking about rates. Okay, that's just one part of our world. Let's say the real part of our world is actual movement of this cargo. This is the operations, right? So, and these operations are handled in a what we call transport management system, TMS, and that's our ultimate system, right? And the rate part is part of this, right? So the management was very clear that we need an integrated system. We don't want standalone island systems feeding data interfaces and all that kind of thing. That's also one strategy. Many companies did that. Successful, partially successful, you can argue, but this was the clear direction given to us by the management. So that made our job a little bit easier. So yeah, we have to make it. So in comes our transport management system with the shipment right in the middle, and then supported by all these modules, right? And that's where the rate and contracts come, right? So we are talking about this module as part of our transport management system. And that's where, let's say, half of our journey ends, because now we have a decision. Now we just have to start making it, right? So the timeline is the following. We started in Jan 2006. I said the journey started there. That was the kickoff workshop. Also the personal journey for me. One of the first times I visited Germany um, as a, whatever, 28, 30-year-old. Never expected that I would be part of a global project. Here I am, right? And then in 2000, December, the same year, we got the requirement sign off from our business partners. You also have to appreciate that Schenker is a very international company. I think you mentioned, Rita, about being in X number of locations. Ours is also pretty similar. We are about in 93 locations around the world, right? And we are also strongly regionally driven. We have regional offices in all these areas, right? And so business requirement sign-off is not just one global sign-off, right? You need to talk to the regional stakeholders who are in this business, and we had to visit all these people, conduct workshops in their regions. Also, another personal story, I got to visit quite a few regions. I mean, we had 4 regions, but was a really good experience to talk to all these people. Let's call them regional kingdoms, right? And they have their own views on the matter. Some don't even want a global system. You can imagine, and most of you working in the big companies know how these things work, right? Corporate politics. But we did that, and then we went live in 2007. Then in 2008, we started to turn off our internal systems. This was the very own system that I created. So I turned off my own system. Let's call it my own system, which was also a bittersweet moment for me, because on one side, my system is getting turned off, but a global system in which I'm part of is turned on, right? And then we turned off a North American system, was much more difficult than we expected. Then there's an air freight system that we turned off in 2014. And 2014, we are kind of live with both air and ocean. So, and then so on. So we are still there. It's not that the system is over. The system is alive and running and kicking and is working well, right? And we did plenty of changes after that. And this shows the number of rates. Just to give you an idea, I'm starting only from 2009. In 2006, we started with 0. You can imagine that. And then extrapolating, we are somewhere in the 8.3 million rates as of the latest tally. Right? This is taking only ocean into consideration. Just to explain that the system is still running and doing good and all that, right? So I think that was not too bad, because we could create a global system, replaced all the local tools, and kind of unified the company, got all our stakeholders into one room to appreciate the system. Now, entire Schenker world working on one system. This is a huge symbolical significance. It has that, right? So, but the challenges still remain, right? This is one of the last slides I have. So lunch for you, not too bad. So still a very manual thing, right? We still have an army of people sitting in our shared service center, China, Manila, Mexico, Bucharest, and so on. In fact, I personally onboarded so many people on this system, because that's how we get the rates. Right? We are talking of artificial intelligence, very fancy tools, all that. But sorry, my reality is that I'm still working with Excel sheets. That's the reality I have. Yes. Um, our industry is not so organized, right? For for ocean, there is no central body. For air freight, there's something called IATA. Maybe you heard of you, some of you. IATA makes air freight a little bit simpler, but when it comes to rates, no. It's still every carrier sending us Excel sheets. Back to that. Yeah. Yes, there are some standards in air freight. Ocean is now clawing their way back, but nowhere there, right? And then many carriers still provide contract information via Excel and PDF. Yeah, only top 2 to 3 carriers are actively working, right? They're not there yet. Maybe Abhishek, you would say something, maybe you would contradict that. I would love to hear that. But as of now, it's this Excel, PDF, or this. Yeah, that's my world. I think that's more or less, yes, there are some, let's call them pretenders, right? Who kind of provide solutions to act as data providers who want to get rates from the carriers and give it to the forwarders, yes. But none of them have really the portfolio that we need, right? It's not like push a button, I get the 3 million rates that we have and for the next cycle. Unfortunately, that's the scenario. Ending on a pessimistic note, Richard, but that's my world, right? So
It's a truth.
yeah,
Perfect.
indeed. Keeps me employed.
Well,
Keeps
exactly.
me employed, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So that's from my side. So
thank you. We've got time for a question. Does anyone want to make a question or even at the front? Here we go. Perfect.
The question, you talked about the fact that Excels cannot be automated, yet these things are highly standardized and structured. Why couldn't you use traditional easy tools like RPA?
correct. So RPA, we have our experiments with RPA, but with RPA, the problem is that the standardization, let's call it standardization, now look into what standardization is. They are not really that standardized that every single cell is fixed, right? When the carrier sends, they can move around the logo, they can move around the header a little bit, few rows here and there, few columns here. That's unfortunately, that's the reality, right? RPA basically looks at each cell, right? So yes, there are some smarter RPAs, but our experience has been maybe a 20% hit rate, right? It still works. We are still using RPA, right? But limited extent. Unfortunately, it's not standardized. That's exactly the problem. Even within the same carrier, they don't. If you take Lufthansa, big carrier. This, absolutely, this is what I keep pushing my management also. My management also for that. Why don't we, as the customers, force our providers to give us? And they say that they show a lot of fingers to us. So
there you go.
when, yeah, exactly. Thumbs up. But the other direction.
Well,
but yeah.
thank you very much indeed. Bravo.
Well, so, thank you.